John Assaraf, welcome to the Tap In Within podcast. How are you, brother?
I'm doing so great. Thank you.
We're so excited to be here with you. Again, this interview was really like a outcome of the manifestation process, a little bit of persistence, applying your techniques, applying your vision board techniques, which we'll get into later. But I wanted to really start off with you. The first time I got to know your name and what you do was based on the interview you did with Tom Bilyeu on impact theory, and you told the story about meeting your mentor, John Alan Brown. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and just that whole process for me. Right now I'm 22. I think I heard that when I was 20, 21, just shortly ago, and I was like, I need a mentor. Like I need someone to guide me, find my way. Like, what are the keys to success? Where do I need to go? Yes or no? Slowly, I started like thinking about who could be my mentor, and then like through time, I realized that the real inner mentor is within, and I started like really tapping into that wisdom that I had, uncovering some things from my past, and really, it's like, yes, I want to surround myself with the most successful people and get guided, but also it's that inner wisdom. I wanted to hear from you, comparing the mentors you have in your life with yourself and your own inner guidance system.
So I think it's a combination. So now that, I can look back at my life and having done, 41 years of research on human performance, on the human brain, on emotions, on intelligence, and not just intelligence here, but intelligence here, and intelligence in the gut and the gut microbe. And, where do we get these feelings and the intuition that we have? It really was a combination of getting to the point in my life where I was willing to listen to the dialogue that I was having with me first, and being, I guess, transparent enough for myself to be willing to look in the mirror and ask myself some very difficult questions around my responsibility, and then having mentors, guide me along the way of that journey. So I think it's a combination, right? So if we stop enough to be honest with ourselves, radically honest, not kind of honest, but radically honest, then we're going to get some answers. And if we learn not to be afraid of the answers, because it's in the answers that we find the path, then we can really find, the mentors, the tools, the resources, and the way for us to advance our lives in the way that gives it more purpose and meaning and truth. And at the end of the day, we can either be afraid of the truth, or, as they say, the truth can set you free. Yeah. So I got to the point where I learned how not to be afraid of the truth, but also how to frame things, put it in a frame that empowered me instead of disempowered me. And this is something that I call as the razor's edge, the fine line, between those who, really succeed and those who suffer. So, combination.
By the truth, you mean the actuality of your reality, what you are living right now. That's what you call the truth of yourself.
Yes, and what's causing my reality? What's causing my reality? Where did I develop this? And again, if I go back to 19 years young, when I was a mess, what was causing my results? What was I believing about myself that wasn't really true? What did I buy into? What story did I buy into, and why, that was causing my reality, causing my feelings, causing my behaviors that caused my results. Right? So I learned, fortunately, at a young age, how to look at results as nothing more than effects. Right? So if we look at your bank account, it's an effect. Right? If we look at your investment portfolio, your business growth, or I look at your physique, or I look at your relationship, it's an effect of either what you're doing or not doing, and what you know or don't know, and what you believe or don't believe. So I learned to look at things differently. And Wayne Dyer, wonderful, wonderful human being who moved on, transitioned into, the spiritual realm, had a beautiful saying, that I remember from years ago. He says, when you change the way you look at something, the thing that you look at changes. So I discovered 41 years ago a way to look at myself differently. And in looking at myself and understanding what I really am and what you are and what everything is made up of, I started to have a healthy, beautiful respect for me, for you, and for humanity. And that was a light bulb moment for me where maybe I didn't have knowledge or skills in certain things, but that didn't mean that I wasn't worthy. Maybe I didn't know how to do something, but that didn't mean that I wasn't smart. And I believed those things before I had a switch in the perspective of who I am and who you are and what I can achieve, even though I may not know how to right now.
Yeah. And one of the most underrated things that I've seen in especially like our younger generation is the idea of self-worth. And you talked a lot about that and how we perceive ourselves. Sorry, I'm gonna let how we perceive ourselves really expands our reality or even shrinks it to an extent. When you were looking at your own self-worth, what was your whole process in that journey of finding like how strong, powerful, free, loving you are like for the world as well? And how did that inner process start?
So, my journey started at a very, very young age where my self-image, self-worth, and self-esteem got fractured, not from birth to about 5 years old. I was a happy, healthy, playful, mischievous child. But when I moved from Israel, where I was born, to Montreal, right at grade 1, I spoke Hebrew as a young boy. And then I moved to grade 1 where they spoke French and English. So I got put into a class with 60 other children at the time. Some of them could speak the language, most of them could not. And we would all, not all, but maybe about half the class would be looking up at the ceiling, pushing each other, jabbing each other, throwing things with each other because we didn't understand what the teacher was teaching. And so I felt like I was stupid and I got into trouble. And got in trouble with the other kids who felt like they were stupid because they came from another part of the world, maybe. I lived in a very transient area. And grade 1 and 2, I fell behind. So I didn't do well in the test because I couldn't read it. I didn't understand when the teacher was talking. So I wasn't paying attention. And I had a lot of energy. And so I was labeled ADHD. In grade 2 and grade 3 and grade 4 because I couldn't sit still because I had all this energy as a little boy who was pretty active. And so, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I felt I was stupid. And then in grade 7, and I don't know how old I was, 12 years old, whatever age you are, I had one teacher who set up a different structure. And his structure was, here's the things you need to do this month in history and geography and math, and then you can do whatever you want. You finish it fast and you pass it all, go do what you want. And so for me, I was like, okay, what do I need to read? What do I need to learn? What do I need to study? I did it, got passing grades, and then he would let me go to the gym to play basketball, to play sports. a few other kids who were really good at art. He let them paint the actual hallways of the school. There was two kids, Eddie Chung and Wei Li, I think. They came from China, brilliant kids. They would finish everything in like 3-4 days for the whole month. And then they paint dragons and castles down the staircases of our grade school. That was the first part that I thought that maybe I'm not stupid. But that was grade 7. But I already started to formulate that I'm not smart enough. I can't learn this stuff. And then, when I went, grade 8, 9, 10, 11, I did well in biology and chemistry, and terrible at physics and math. Terrible. And so I thought, I'm not very smart, And so I had this. Contradicting beliefs about myself, very confused, very uncertain. I don't do well in school. I do well in this class, but not in this class. I'm getting in trouble, etc. So I got into a lot of trouble and did a lot of illegal things. My father was a gambler, and he always gambled more money every day playing cards and betting on horses. And drinking. And, if I didn't do well in school, I'd get beaten by him. And so it was like all these contradicting ideas. In sports, I was put up on a pedestal because I was good in basketball, but in math, I failed. In English, I failed, but in biology and chemistry, I was good. So I was like, who am I? What am I? I'm confused.
Yeah.
And then I go home and I get beaten for not passing a math test. So it was a lot of very, very confusing emotions and the meanings that I gave things, that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough. And there was nobody there to guide me as, maybe you're not smart in this, but you're really smart in that. And maybe you're terrible at this, but you're really good at that. And to frame things in a way that's normal. Yeah. Like I didn't think it was normal. I thought you had to be good at everything. And back when I went to school, it was, if you don't go to college, you'll never amount to anything. I freaking hate school. I'm confused. I'm ashamed. I'm ridiculed. I hate school, right? So I had all of these mixed emotions and mixed meanings and total misunderstanding of who and what I was. So the environment really shaped a lot of my confusion. The environment shaped, feeling less than, because the kids in my school that did well in school, they were put up on the pedestal. I did well in sports. That was pushed down upon. You're going to be a dumb jock is what I was called. Good in sports, stupid in school. So that was, like 5 years old to 17. 12 years of that. My brain became conditioned to believe I wasn't good enough and not smart enough. That affected my self-image. So I did drugs, drank alcohol, sold drugs, did breaking and entries. That's what I did from 12 to 18 to 17 years old, because I thought that's how I was going to get ahead. And I fit into a group who felt that was normal. So I had to.
It's that seeking the belonging that we have like innately, because there's like, to the extent that I resonate with your story is incredible, because I moved from Colombia to the US when I was 5, and I was the same thing. I was put into school and I didn't speak anything of English. Yeah. And I felt stupid. I felt like I wasn't smart enough. Those are like some of the biggest like deep belief systems that I've had for a while. And then the outlet for me was sports. The outlet for me was like being this jock type of player persona. And I'm just really interested. It's like that sense of belonging that we seek.
Well, we want acceptance, belonging. We want a sense of, I got love from my mother and father. Like I had my mother, father, sister, brother. They gave me lots of love. There were other issues that were challenging, but I always had love. Even though my father was very, very, very strict, he loved me. Like many years later when I asked him, why did you beat me so much? He goes, because I had to make sure that you were a good boy. I said, but why didn't you talk to me? He goes, what do you mean talk to you? You don't teach somebody how to be a good boy by talking to them. He says, my father beat the shit out of me too.
There it goes.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what he learned. That's how you discipline. You discipline with fists and slaps and kicking and belts. That's how you discipline somebody into obedience.
Yeah.
Right? And he just didn't know better. It's not that he didn't love me. He loved me. That's why he did it. What a shift that was for me. So it's not that he did it because he didn't love me. He did it because he loved me. You think that may have changed my life in a moment? Realizing that changed the frame. Right? So that's how he was raised. So he did the best he could to try to help me get aligned. He didn't have the skill. That's a whole different story, but that doesn't mean he didn't love me. And he's the same person today at 91 as he was, 40 years ago at 51 or 41, 50 years ago. Yeah. So the environment made a huge difference in me. But then at 19, as you mentioned, I met this one man. And I often, share, is it possible for your life to change by answering one question? And the answer is, yep, your life can change by answering one question. Your life can change in 1 minute by one question with one decision. And that was the Alan Brown story, where my brother arranged for me to have lunch with this guy. I didn't know who he was. He was 350 miles away from, where I lived in Montreal. He was in Toronto, and I took the train to go and see him because my brother thought maybe this guy could help me. Because I was on the path of either jail or the morgue. I was either going to die or go to jail. One of the two things that's the track I was on, and I was picking up speed. And now I was 19 years old, so the consequences were much, much greater. So when I was a kid, you're a minor, and so they slap your hands, and maybe you go to juvie detention hall for a day or two or a week, but you don't go to jail. But now at 19, the things that I was doing, it's jail or you're going to die. And I have friends who went to jail, and I had one friend who died. That was in the little gang that I was in. So I know that was a possibility. And at lunch, this man asked me some questions, but one specific question changed my life. And I still ask that question of every one of my students today.
Can we know the question for the audience that's listening?
So I was sitting at lunch with him, and he asked me, just chit chat, small talk first. Why do you think you do the things you do? Blah, 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 blah. Chit chat, small talk. What are your goals and dreams? I said, well, I want to get a car, want to move out of my parents' house, and I want to make more than $1.65 an hour, which is how much I was earning working in a shipping department, from 8 a.m. till 4 o'clock every day.
Wow.
And he said, well, that's all great. But what are some big goals and dreams that you have? I go, I don't have any. He says, well, he gave me a document, and it said, and he said, why don't you take 15 minutes, just fill out this document, use your imagination. And so the first question said, at what age do you want to retire? I was 19. It says, at what age do I want to retire? My father wasn't even retired, so I had no idea. So I thought it was a stupid question because I was just starting my life. So I put down 45, 26 years later. I don't know, it could have been 55, 85, I don't know. Second question was, how much net worth do you want to have? So I looked at Mr. Brown. I said, excuse me, sir, what does net worth mean? I had no idea. I had no idea. He says, well, if you take your assets minus your liabilities, you're going to have a number, right? Then that's actually your net worth. That's actually how much you are financially worth. Oh, okay. $3 million. It might as well have been 300 million. $3 million. Yeah. Once you've achieved your net worth, Who would you like to help? I said, my mother and father. I want to retire them. What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Well, I want to travel around the world, first class. I want nice Italian clothes. I want a nice Cadillac at the time. I want, I just put the things I want to have, do, and be. What kind of experiences do you want to have? And I wrote down, I want to travel the world. I want to see different cultures and see different places. And I asked a whole bunch of questions like that I just had to use my imagination. Not one bit of it was true. Just pie in the sky. Like you might as well have been making a movie, writing a script out of your imagination. So he gets this document, he looks at it, he goes, this is some pretty good stuff. This is a good vision. These are some good goals. And then he said, I'm going to ask you one question, and the answer to this question will determine whether you achieve every one of those. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, yeah, sure. One question is going to answer whether I achieve all of these goals. And he leans in and he looks at me and he goes, are you interested in achieving these goals and dream life? Or are you committed? I said, what? Am I interested or am I committed? And I said to him, excuse me, Mr. Brown, what's the difference? He says, if you're interested, you'll keep using your story that you told me before about how poorly you did in school. You'll use your story about how your father is this, your father did that, and your mother couldn't help here, and your sister and brother couldn't help you either. And you're going to use your old stories, reasons, and excuses as to why you can't, or why you won't, or why it's not possible. He said, if you're interested, you'll continue to believe what you believe. But if you are committed, you'll upgrade your mindset, your skill set, and your action set so that they match your destiny. So you will upgrade your beliefs. You will upgrade your knowledge and your skills every single day, because everything you want to achieve is achievable. So which will it be? Stories, reasons, and excuses why you can't, or the beliefs, the habits, and the perspectives of how you will? One is interested, one is commitment. And so I thought about it for what seemed like an hour, but it was like 10 seconds ago. I'm committed. And in that moment, he reached his hand out and he says, in that case, I will be your mentor. And I said, wow, what's a mentor? I didn't know, right? I was 19. I had no idea what a mentor was. He said, a mentor is somebody that can help you make sense of your thoughts, help you make sense of what you're feeling, help make sense of your plans of what to do, what not to do, what to read, what to listen to, what to watch, what courses to take, and to how to navigate, the path to achieving your goals. He says, because everything that you want to achieve financially, we know how to do that. Everything you want to achieve emotionally, we know how to manage that. Anything you want to achieve about having the mindset of a winner, we know the formula. So you just have to be willing to be committed in order to change and move forward every single day until you achieve those goals and dreams. So that day, that question, that meeting, that answer changed my life. And I ask my students all the time, I'll only help you if you're committed, not if you're interested. But I ask them, are you interested or are you committed? Because the reality, right? I don't care if you're trying to learn a Rubik's Cube 2x2 or 5x5 or 4x4 or 3x3. How to achieve this, we already know how. So whether it's health, wealth, relationships, career, business, money, spirituality, the how to achieve almost every goal, we already know how to do it. We're not putting, like most of the people that are going to listen or watch this, they're not trying to figure out how to colonize Mars or Venus. So all of the things that you want to do, the path is already there. The beliefs you need to have are already there. The knowledge, the skills, and the habits, we already know what they are. That's not the problem. The problem is you may have bought into a self-image that's really not true about yourself. You may have developed beliefs, like Santa Claus is real, that aren't true. You may have other beliefs just like that one. I still have people going, Santa's not real, but and you may have some habits you just need to change, and you may have to make some changes in your life. And Jim Rohn, who is a wonderful philosopher and a friend of mine, one of his most famous quotes that I love is this: in life, you're either going to pay the price of discipline or you're going to pay the price of regret. He says, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Mm-hmm. So I made a decision back in that lunch with Mr. Brown. I'm going to pay the price of discipline so I don't have to pay the price of regret.
Wow. Yeah.
And then my life began to change. And I just got on a path of personal development and growth. And it's not that I haven't had failures in every area of my life, but the failures have never defined me. They've actually created my character because I've used my failures in a way that lift me up instead of put me down. That was a choice and a decision I learned 41 years ago. So learning how to frame things, learning how to change, learning how to be an adaptationist are skills that I learned, right? So that's a little bit of the beginning for you too.
The first time that I heard from you was from the movie The Secret.
Yeah.
And I am very interested in that because I have a YouTube channel where all of my focus, or my most important focus, is the law of attraction. And I talk about how I have healed things in my life with just the power of my thoughts. I used to have a lot of acne on my skin, and it was terrible. You couldn't even recognize me. And I realized that I had an image of myself that I couldn't express myself freely. So my body was creating literally a mask on me to hide my true self. So I started thinking, oh, maybe what if I attracted this? Because I saw that movie when I was 11 years ago, when I was 11 years. And I said, maybe I am attracting all of this reality. Maybe this acne is not happening just because. And I started rethinking things, and I changed. Like, my skin is clear now, but I know that you have talked about the law of attraction in a different way than what you did in that movie. I know things have changed for you, and right now I'm writing a book about the law of attraction and demystifying what it actually is. So I would like to know, what is it about the law of attraction? What is how do you see now the law of attraction, and what's that component that I know that has a lot to do with what you talked about, determination and being committed about something?
Sure. So it's a multifaceted discussion. Mm-hmm. That will take us into the world of quantum physics and quantum mechanics and neuroscience.
Let's go there.
Let's go there. So when I learned about the law of attraction 41 years ago is the first time I heard it, 19 years young, right? I had this image of the law of attraction as if it was like a magnet. So if I have positive thoughts, I'll magnetize the positive things into my life, like magical, which really is not how it works. So if you understand anything about magnetism, if you have a positive and you put a positive next to it, it actually repels, mm-hmm. right? The harder you try to put them close together, the more it moves away. So positive and negative actually unite. Mm-hmm. So when I started to create vision boards of what I wanted to attract, or achieve, I created the visual representations as an instruction to my brain of what I wanted to be in resonance with, right? So if it's true that we live in a sea of energy, protons, electrons, muons, leptons. So we live in this field of energy. My body is a coalesced energy structure of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and many other elements that have coalesced in this solid state. Then is it possible that my brain, which has been evolving for billions of years, but 2 million or so years of human evolution, is it possible that my brain that allows light in through my eyes and sound ear through my ears and, sensory input through my tactile senses and maybe my intuitive senses, maybe is it possible that the hear, see, smell, taste, and touch senses, plus some of the inner senses that are navigating and feeling, this field of energy that I am in, is it possible that if I get into resonance, into coherence with the things that I want to do, be, have, create, attract, is it possible that it works more like a radio that you tune in to rock and roll and it shuts down all the other channels that are in the room right now? And then if I want to switch the radio from rock and roll to classical, rock and roll goes away and I only tune into classical music right now. Oh, and I don't like rock and roll or classical. I said, let's go punk rock. And I just tune in just a little bit more to punk rock. All of a sudden, classical and the other music goes away and I'm only on the station of punk rock. Is it possible that if I can lock into the spiritual side where all the intelligence is, if I can operate from a spiritual by focusing my brain, my attention on that, managing my emotions, the energy in motion. So I'm moving towards what I want instead of not managing the emotions, let's say like fear, moving away from it. And then I get my physical body to take the actions towards what I want. Is it possible that when I lock in spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, that's the equivalent of getting the algorithms right on a Rubik's Cube? And if you don't know how to do it, then you don't get it right? Is it possible that I'm playing spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical game at the same time? And my job is to use my brain to get it in coherence, flow, and harmony instead of chaos. Chaos, harmony. So how do I look at the law of attraction now is very, very different than I used to. I used to think it was kind of like something magical. But when I started to cut pictures of cars and homes and trips that I ended up acquiring, having, experiencing, I wanted to go beneath the surface, okay, of what is actually going on, especially when I had a picture of a house from a magazine that I had no idea where the house was or how much it was. And I ended up living in the house 5 years later after I cut it.
That was a crazy story.
Not a house like it, the house.
The same house.
The house. And I'm going, what in the world happened? So I started to do even more research. 2000 is when this happened. So 21 years ago, I started to research more about entanglement and quantum entanglement. And I want to go to the deepest level of science to give me at least as much explanation as was possible of how did that happen?
Hmm.
I can see, you take a picture of Hawaii or Mexico when you go to Mexico or Hawaii. I see that, no problem. See the goal, I go and work, I make enough money, I go or I put on my credit card, no problem. But I picked a house out of a magazine. I didn't even say I'm going to buy that house. I said one day, when I can afford any house I want, I'll buy a house like it. And there I was in that house 5 years later. I was living 3,000 miles away from that house. I didn't even know the community that it was in. So there's something that I still cannot explain around how that was possible. And the best explanation that I have right now is I was in concert, in flow, in coherence with that. And, seeing the picture, feeling it, seeing myself walking around that house, which I did every day in my mind, looking at the picture and then letting it go. But then also the physical side of it, the law of attraction, people forget about the last 6 letters of the word attraction.
Mm-hmm.
ACTION, action. Now, it's not any kind of action. It's not action. It's not just action, right? I could be, acting, trying, for a million years trying to solve this. It's the right actions in the right order at the right time, right? So I started to study what are the right actions in the right order at the right time for the physical piece of it. What are the emotions that I need to sustain more often than not so that I'm moving towards that which I seek and desire? And what is the mindset that I need to have to tap into the spiritual side, knowing that it already exists? That's the law of attraction for me today.
Wow, that's such an amazing explanation. I'm actually like mind blown by the way you put that together. And one of the things that like blows my mind even more is that we're one of the only creatures that we know on this planet that have this planning ability. You talk about the prefrontal cortex. And for me, it's amazing. I don't know like how we evolved to acquire this brain. You can maybe get into a little bit about our brain, like the extraordinary abilities it has.
Incredible.
But, yeah, one of the things is that you were talking about in an interview was that when you were looking at your father, you saw him working really hard. Your father was a cab driver, super hard. And then you realized like it was about working smart, that thing of where you're saying aligning our actions and having the right timing. When do you know how to work smart? Like, what is your strategy behind getting the right things in place to be in alignment with that new law of attraction that you're mentioning?
So, firefighters work hard, cab drivers work hard. There's a lot of people who work hard. Police officers work hard. Teachers work hard, but they don't necessarily make, for example, a lot of money. Now, there are some teachers that make a lot of money, maybe not teaching, but they take what they do in the classroom, and then maybe some of them will open up, a Khan Academy that has tens of millions of people, who follow that, right? So at any point, you can stop what you're doing and ask questions, right? I look at our brain very, very differently today than I used to. I used to think of my brain like I think my finger. It's just like there. But if you want to think of life as a game, right? We can play the game at the kindergarten level, grade school level, high school, university, pro, all-star, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the levels. So when I ask thousands of people, what can you tell me about your own brain? You own it, right? You have one of these, not a plastic brain, but inside your skull. You have a brain. It's been evolving for 2 million years. We have spent billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to recreate it. We still can't. Even today, we still can't recreate what this naturally does. It's estimated to be worth $1 trillion. I usually use 100 billion. So you own something that's worth, let's say, $100 billion. What can you tell me about how it works? What can you tell me about the structures of how it works? Now, you probably say, not much. I mean, I can think, I have thoughts, it produces emotions. It can get me from here to there. It helps me eat, helps me put my clothes on. That's kindergarten level stuff. Imagine if you asked the owner of a sports team, okay, the best soccer team in the world, okay, tell me about your team. Tell me about the players. Tell me about the different positions that they play. Tell me about the different things that they have to do when things don't go well, when you're behind, when you're ahead. What do you do? How do you think? How do you train? How do you get them to perform at the highest level? They could tell you everything, everything. There's nothing left unturned. And they're practicing, fixing, adjusting, tweaking every day. Why aren't we doing that with our own brain that's a function of different team members? Like we have an Einstein part of our brain, not some of us, all of us. We also have a Frankenstein's monster, okay, that talks negatively to us, that says, what if you fail? What if you're embarrassed? What if you're rejected? What if you're judged? What if you fail? What if you succeed and fail? What if you disappoint yourself? We have that. Then we have a motivator inside our brains that, come on, you can do it. But then we have the other side of our brain that says, no, you can't. You're not good enough. You're not. Oh, really? I have all that in here? Yeah, you do. And everyone does. But have you learned how, first of all, what those members of your own team are? And have you learned how to manage them because they're yours? You're the owner of the team. And most people are like, no. Well, okay. Well, that's why you're having a hard time playing the game of life or finances or relationship or whatever you want to call it. So we have a health game, a wealth game, relationship game, career game, business game, spirituality game, right? How well you are playing is not based on luck. How well you are playing is how well you know the game and how prepared you are to play at the highest level possible. That's all trainable. But if you don't want to, if you just want to say, my brain, I don't care about my brain, great. Then your brain won't care about you. But if you want to start thinking, right? Thinking is different than having thoughts. You want to start thinking, who am I? X number of years ago, my mother and father had sex, and the sperm and the egg came together, and the X and Y chromosomes, combined, created this, zygote and an embryo, and then multiplied 26 times. Like, what's the intelligence that did that? And inside that DNA, the deoxyribonucleic acid, the code of my life and my lineage and my heritage, not just for my parents and my grandparents and their parents and grandparents, going all the way back to the beginning of time, but all of the experiences that were there are in me. And the gold that's in my body actually was in the furnace of a star when the Big Bang happened. That's in me already. Oh, wow, holy shit. And I think I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. The intelligence that I have, I will never use in a million lifetimes. Why not remember that? Why not start with that? So maybe I'm not good at math. Big fucking deal. But I'm really good at communicating. I'm really good at loving and caring and empathizing. I'm really good at listening. I'm really good at feeling what you're feeling so I could be there for you. Oh, I have those traits, maybe not others. Well, welcome to being human. So now I can say, wow, maybe I have some worth here. Maybe I can develop the things that I'm naturally strong at. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing and not that. And maybe if I'm not good at that and you are, and I let you shine in that and you let me shine in what I'm supposed to shine in, then guess what? We have 2 stars now. You shine and I shine. We lift each other up instead of put each other down. Oh, wow. We could do that? Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Because if you want to look at the stuff that is not right with me, you'll find a lot of stuff. And if I want to look at the stuff that's not right with you, I'll find a lot of stuff. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing, because there's a lot of things I'm not good at. And there's a lot of things you're not good at. And that's okay. But what are you good at? Let's get really good at that. Let's play that at the pro level, not the kindergarten level. So I'm fascinated with the intelligence that gives me life every second of every day, that breathes. Even if I try to stop breathing right now, there's an intelligence within me that's going to stop me from doing that. There's, what you ate this morning, right? Somehow it was grown, it was created, it was shipped to the stores or the restaurants that you ate at, and then you're eating it, and it's breaking it down into energy and new hair and nails, and it's like you're not even thinking about that. Like, you're not thinking about the autonomic nervous system that is keeping you alive and digesting you and allowing the neurons to fire in billions of sequences every second of every day. While your food's being digested, your nails are growing, your hair is growing, you can hear, you can see, you can do complex things that we can't get computers to do or robots to do yet. And you want to minimize yourself of who you are? You don't understand who you are. So let's change the frame. Let's lift each other up as we climb. Let's make the path a little bit easier for each other to have a healthy respect and love for each other. That's the game I want to play.
That's amazing. That's incredible, John. Thank you so much for that. And we wanted to start wrapping this up. Alexander and I have a couple last questions. For me, one of the questions that when I was going towards the end of your book, Inner Size, when you started talking about what capabilities with the technological innovations that we're having that we haven't seen yet are gonna exponentially change the game for the human, the new human. And I wanted to ask you, like, since you're in the forefront of the neuroscience, you are homies with all the experts and the brain scientists, and they're telling you like what's going on, what advances have been happening. What are you maybe most excited and optimistic about when it comes to these technological advances in the brain, what we're going to be able to do in the future?
Sure. So, the area that we're in right now, there's a couple of areas that we can talk about that we're in right now, and then I'll talk about where it's going. So right now, psychedelics have come right back into a lot of research. And I have been exploring consciousness and psychedelics for the last 15 years in a safe environment of conscious and subconscious exploration. Huge leap forward when done safely and the right way. Just so you know, my children are 26 and 24, and I've introduced them in a safe way to altered states of consciousness with psychedelics together as a family. Wow. My wife does not want to participate, which is perfectly fine. And they have expanded their awareness of reality. Part one. We've been able to collapse belief structures that weren't great, or habitual structures, etc. Part one. The brain to computer interfaces that are now existing means that we can take the computational powers and integrate it into our brains. Now, there's dangers with a knife. You can cut a tomato with a knife, or you can kill a human. There's dangers with microwaves. There's dangers with cars where you can drive across the country, or you can kill somebody with it. So there's dangers to everything. So it's a matter of how do we apply the things in a way that allows us to expand our consciousness and our awareness and our abilities. So every one of us, for example, has had these moments where you think of a friend and the phone rings or you get a text from them, or you walk into a room and something's wrong and not one word has been said, right? So we have, other than our hear, see, smell, taste, and touch senses, right? We have, a sense around where are we in the world right now? Where is the camera, in relationship to my body? There's other than physical senses to navigate our external world with. And we are entering the world of the inner world now, the inner world of intuition, the inner world of brain to brain communication. When I was your age, I remember when cell phones came out, and I had a little box, which is like 3 to 5 pounds, with a phone that could only be charged for like an hour, with a place to recharge it in my trunk of my car. And now, we have a little mobile phone that has more power in it wirelessly than what we use to put a human on the moon. There's more power here than all the computers to put a human on the moon. So where are we going with all this? We are going to uncover how powerful our brains really are. We're going to uncover things about our species that we are going to be able to do and experience far beyond anything that you can imagine. And so the brain to computer interfaces, the virtual reality worlds that we can go into, that will create experiences that are just as real as this right now. We might actually already be in a simulation, right? So the scientific math has already proven that that's a possibility, okay? And if you ever have done any psychedelics, then that reality seems as real, if not more real than this reality. That's where you go like, which one is real? Well, those are all meshing. And there'll be some transitions in that because, our brains are going to be rewiring probably at a faster rate in the next 20 years than they have in the last 500 years. So a lot of really amazing stuff. And there'll be amazing complications as a result of it as well, right? Because now we're going to get into, brain hacking, like really brain hacking. If we end up with a computer chip in our brain or, on our hand and somebody can hack it, then they have access to our brain. So a lot of the sci-fi movies, some of that will become real. And so we're going to have to navigate through that, just like we do navigating through the internet that's, new for us in the last X number of years. So there's going to be amazing opportunities and there'll be some amazing risks, but that's kind of like, as far as I remember, that's how life works.
Yeah.
For the people that is listening, what are some daily habits or daily exercises that you do that you can make every single day to tap in within?
Great. So this has to be my last question, just so you know my time. I've got another meeting. So one of the things that I would like everybody to consider is every day, okay, how can you direct your brain, okay, where you want the attention to go, right? So there's a saying in neuroscience that energy flows to where attention goes. Energy flows to where attention goes. So if you think of negative things and you predict that you're going to be embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, you're going to fail, then the energy and attention goes there, and your brain then predicts that that's going to be the reality. So we're predicting in advance what we think might happen. But by the same token, if you predict you're going to be successful, healthy, happy, financially secure, you're going to be enjoying life, then the energy goes there. So I do something every day called cognitive priming, or I prime my brain. And every day I take out my goals, my vision, my goals, my why, and what I want to achieve. And I have a discussion with my brain on being very, very clear on help me achieve these things. Help these things become a reality. Show me the tools, the resources, the people that I need in order to make this my reality. So I'm putting my brain to work instead of allowing it to do what it naturally wants to do, which is repeat old patterns. So I am developing the new patterns like a software engineer, creates software. I am just programming my own brain every day on what to focus on. Do that every day. Focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. Watch the magic start to happen.
That's brilliant. And I think we've both seen it in our own lives and our own experience. If you guys want more techniques on that, get the Inner Size book. We'll link everyone where they can find you. What is one place that you would tell everyone to go for connecting with you?
Probably on Instagram or on my Facebook fan page, because I do training every Tuesday on my Facebook fan page. So Instagram, I'm on there every day. I do trainings on Instagram every Tuesday morning. I do training on Facebook every Tuesday morning on my fan page. And I just started a Clubhouse session every Monday night for 2 hours as well. So
that's amazing.
Those 3 channels.
Thank you for always providing value, brother. All the love,
so
and we'll speak soon.
Appreciate you too very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.